What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of JK Philly. Today, we are going to do our early previews of how we think both of the conferences are going to go. Me and Kev both created a list basically on the East and West side, and we're just going to try to, compare and contrast our list and see how that goes.
Got the stab boots on my back. I could load up and attack on anybody. Grab the gat, grab the mask. I think my aura going black and I don't plan on turning back. What's the point of doing that when you got people that's around?
So we move into the Western Conference. We got your eliminated teams up. Why don't you just go through them and just, it's kind of self-explanatory, but just go through them real quick.
Yeah, with a very, very loaded Western Conference, these are your teams that don't play into that mix. Obviously, we know the Jazz and the Trailblazers are going to be terrible this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a far-fetched to say that would be one of the biggest surprises in recent memory if either of those teams are good this year.
Mm-hmm.
Kings are in the same boat for me as them. They just have Sabonis, so maybe they win some games because they have Sabonis. Although, even after they got rid of Fox last year, their record was much better than I thought it would have been.
Mm-hmm. They
Just
still got
looking
Levine and DeMar too.
Yeah, like they still have some players.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll win some games. They'll win more than Portland and the Jazz. And maybe they'll be better than the Suns because Suns are kind of in the same boat now. It's just kind of Devin Booker and friends there.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pelicans, I can't. I would love to see Zion healthy. I love watching Zion play. I've yet to see it. And from somebody who's watched Embiid, when it's a big man and it's constant injuries, you drive yourself crazy, hoping and praying one day he'll put together a healthy year. And like I said, I'd love to see it. I just don't believe in Zion staying healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Pelicans if he does because he's that much of a game changer. He's one of them guys that can really take a team from like an eliminated team to like maybe even in the West, maybe a play-in team,
Mm-hmm.
which would be saying a lot for the Western Conference. It's not the East, but without Zion, they're as good as these other teams to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of I feel the same way. I think I put maybe the Kings a little bit higher. I forget what I did. The Pelicans are literally one of a couple teams in like the whole league that is just like, man, if they're healthy, they could jump from eliminated to damn near being in the playoff position, if not like at the top of the play-in, just because of the talent that is on that roster, but it's just consistently hurt. Like Zion's hurt for 20 games and then he'll come back, but then DeJounte Murray's hurt. And then DeJounte Murray will come back, but then Zion and Trey Murphy is hurt. So it's just like consistently like that. If they're all healthy at the same time, even with, a Jordan Poole that's coming there as well, you could have a different conversation about the Pelicans, but I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't believe in them too much.
Yeah.
Let's move on to your play-in teams. Nothing too crazy, I don't think, but just go ahead and explain.
No, it's just making me laugh because like you can already see the talent gap in the play-in the East and the West. Like look at these teams sitting in
The play.
and I could be wrong on all and that's how hard the West is because I could be wrong on all these teams. There's a team here that could be a 3 or a 4 seed.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Grizzlies, I don't know. The Grizzlies had a very good record last year for it not being like the Ja Morant led Grizzlies like we always thought it would be. He's still one of their best players, but it's not like highlight reel after highlight reel, like 25 points a game from him like it was them first couple years in the league before injuries started taking their tolls.
Yeah.
But still a very talented team. Maybe 10 in the play-in was a little harsh. Like I said, the West was hard. It was more that I had the Grizzlies slotted somewhere, and every time another team would come up, I just found myself putting them above the Grizzlies. And it wasn't really a knock to the Grizzlies where I was like, oh, they're not a good team. There was just so many teams I felt to put ahead of them.
Yeah.
Warriors, I have a little low. I could see them being higher again. They're just getting up there in age, man. Even with, bringing in Jimmy Butler and extending him, he's old. Curry's getting old. Draymond is still a very good defender, but he's not the Draymond Green he was in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I like some of the young guys on the Warriors, but I'm not blown away by them. They don't seem to know what to do with Kuminga. The Clippers, again, another team that it depends on health. Healthy Kawhi Leonard for most of the season, much higher than 8th. The normal Kawhi Leonard, you might get like 35 games and hope he's ready for the playoffs with James Harden cooking. And now I'm not really the Chris Paul doesn't really do much for me. I think at this point in his state or this stage in his career, he might be a good option off the bench to come in and run the offense, facilitate for a little bit. But as I think Chris Paul being added to rosters and that him like skyrocketing teams up the standings, I think those days are over.
Yeah.
And with the Lakers, I feel the same way I kind of felt like the Grizzlies, although I think the Lakers are a little better. I had the Lakers kind of high, and then as I kept going to other teams, I kept justifying reasons to put other teams ahead of the Lakers. But it's still LeBron, and I'm always it's LeBron, so I don't want to doubt him, but one of these years he has to fall off. And people have been saying that for 15 years now, and it still hasn't happened. So maybe it won't happen. Maybe he retires before the fall off ever happens. But it just seems like LeBron James led teams are still good teams, but they're not like the consent. Like, if you had LeBron James 10 years ago, you were the 1 seed or the 2 seed, and you knew it was coming. But I think those days are past. But it's still the Lakers. It's still LeBron James.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I think most of these teams I had in the same place. I know the Warriors and I think the Grizzlies I had in the same place. I was probably a little bit higher on the Clippers just because I think at this point, like if it's not like a Pelicans team where you need a Zion to be good. I think without Kawhi, they can still be decent because I think they were only a 5 seed last year and Kawhi was only there for like what 30, 40 games. So I think they can make something work, especially with a John Collins, who I think was in the same situation where he was like hurt throughout the season. So I think he's going to come in healthy and he's going to be ready to go because he's not old. He's still, he's still active and ready to dominate for a team. So let's move into your playoff teams.
Just one last note on the Clippers. I think if Kawhi misses games, they'll really miss Powell then.
I think so too, and I think that I don't even know. I mean, Bradley Beal is there. If he can do something with a James Harden alongside of John Collins, who can pick up some of the slack, maybe it's all a maybe because they're older now, and I don't know if Bradley Beal on the Suns was hurt or if he was actually hurt. So it just depends on what that's going to look like, I guess. But who knows? James Harden and Bradley Beal, they play 60 games together. They could be dominant. I don't know. But yeah, let's go over your playoffs.
So I got the Thunder one. I think this was the easiest choice in the West for me, barring any injuries, and specifically to SGA and probably Williams. I think they're easily the 1 seed next year.
Yeah.
They're returning all of their talent. And when I say all of, like, did anybody leave that Thunder team this offseason?
I don't think so. If it was like a guy that wasn't even getting minutes, but they also just got that rookie Topic or whatever his last name is.
Yeah, and they're adding him to the mix. I know they're going to struggle to find him minutes.
Right, yeah.
He's so loaded. At 2, I have the T-Wolves. It really seemed like they had a very bad start to the year where they looked a little worried. It seemed like after him and Randall figured it out, though, they seemed like one of the better teams in the West all season, especially down the stretch there. I like the Timberwolves. I'm a big Anthony Edwards guy. I have my problems with Julius Randle when you get later in the season, like come playoff time. I think that might have had a little bit to do with coaching too, though. But regular season, Julius Randle puts up numbers. He produces. He's efficient. I'm a big Timberwolves guy. I think they have a good year. Nuggets, can't go wrong with Jokic. Jokic and Murray. I liked the addition. I liked a lot of people saying they're very similar players, but I actually like Cam. I think Cam Johnson over Michael Porter Jr. will be kind of an upgrade there.
Yeah.
At worst, it's a lateral move, I think. I don't think Michael Porter Jr. brought anything to the table that you're like, Cam Johnson can't fill that shoes. And when you look at their shooting splits, the percentages are very similar.
Yeah.
Spurs, I like the Spurs a lot. If Wemby's healthy, I think this is one of the best teams in the West. Obviously, his injury was kind of freak last year. You can't predict a blood clot. It's not like he went out there and, tore out or busted out his ACL or anything. Like, he should be fine for next season. They had some great additions in the offseason. Full season of Fox playing alongside him, too. I like what the Spurs got going there. I'm big on the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Rockets, I got the Rockets a little lower. I like the Rockets. The Kevin Durant acquisitions for teams recently, though, has not been the shoe in like guaranteed thing it was when he went to the Warriors.
Yeah.
He's getting a little older now. He's obviously still Kevin Durant. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest pure scorers I've ever had the pleasure of watching play basketball. But I don't know. I could see the Rockets kind of being one of those teams that gets lost in the mix in the West. Like again, they're probably a 2 seed in the East next season.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much competition out here. I could see them being one of those teams that maybe just falls out of the fray a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Mavericks. I like the Mavericks. Again, older team, needs to be healthy. You have 3 proven championship winners on that team that know what it takes to win a championship. They're all great players when they're healthy and out there. And you're adding Cooper Flag, who I realistically could be like a 15, 16 points per game rookie this season
Mm-hmm.
on a team that already has veteran scoring. So I think that recipe, if it goes very well for the Mavericks, because with all them players there, injuries could be a whole season long thing.
Yeah.
But with the championship experience they have in the former All-Stars and former All-Stars who are still playing at a high level,
Mm-hmm.
plus Cooper Flag, I think the Mavericks could be in for a very good season.
Yeah, the Mavericks and the Spurs are the 2 teams that I definitely had lower than playoff contention. I don't even know if I had the Mavericks in the play-in, to be honest. I forget what I put
Yeah,
in that. But yeah, let's just go into my list so I can give some more insight. Kind of the same thing in the teams of Utah, Portland, Suns, and Kings. I think you covered everything that there is needed to be said about them, especially with like the Suns of Devin Booker and Jalen Green. It's just not going to be good.
Yeah.
The Kings aren't. I don't even see them staying together with DeMar and Levine at the same time. If they get rid of both or just one, it's not going to matter who goes anyway. They're not going to be good.
Yeah.
The Mavericks, you having them at 6 and me having them at 12. I'll give you my reason as to why. One, I don't believe in Anthony Davis staying healthy for more than 40 games. Klay Thompson, I don't think he's going to be a difference maker on the team if AD and Kyrie, who just tore his ACL, are not going to be playing next year. And you're pairing Klay Thompson alongside a D'Angelo Russell, who we already know is a shot chucker if it's like nobody else is the guy on the team. And he's definitely not a good role player, and we saw that with the Lakers.
Yeah.
I really just think it's going to be like AD's going to be out for half of the season. Kyrie's not going to be there. Klay is going to, put up 15 to 20 points a game, and then it's going to be the Cooper Flag show. And I think the Cooper Flag show is going to be nice to watch, but it's just going to be like when we watched the Spurs a couple years ago when they got Wemby. They're still bad, but that guy's really good. So,
but they're bad with a fun young player.
Yeah, I really think that's how it's going to be. They may make a playing spot depending on how much Anthony Davis plays. I just don't think that he's going to play enough where it's going to make a difference in terms of them winning enough games to get to that spot, especially with D'Angelo Russell coming in as your starting point guard. I don't think that's going to look well. Or 2 guard. I don't know what he's going to play, but
right.
I think you and me both had similar ideas about all these other teams being eliminated. Let's move into the play-in. So my play-in was a little bit different than yours. I still had Memphis at 10, which we had in the same spot. Golden State, I just think is better than the rest of these teams. I still believe in Curry. I like Jimmy Butler still. Draymond. It's like really, they could be a lot worse than 7 if their bench just sucks, because they really, I don't see them keeping Kuminga, and they really only got the guy Pajemski and Quentin Post as like their center, and Moses Moody, and I think those are like really the only young guys that they got that are like doing something on the team. I don't even know if Post is doing anything, but outside of that, they could be really bad if one of them gets injured, like a Jimmy Butler or a Steph. So they could be around that area. Spurs, I think are still a little bit young in terms of getting to an actual playoff spot. I think Wemby and De'Aaron Fox are going to be really good, but I don't think a Stephon Castle and a Dylan Harper and a Jeremy Sohan and even like Luke Cornett, who they just got, are going to be like at that level to be proven enough to get to a playoff spot. I think they'll make the play-in, and they might even win their play-in game. But just getting to the actual spot, I don't know if they're ready to do that yet until they get like somebody developed. If that's Stephon Castle, this whole year of just developing until next year to be really good, then maybe next year. But I don't know.
Okay.
And like you said as well for the Pelicans, they're such a weird team that it's like they could be in the play-in or the playoff, or if they're just hurt, they're obviously going to be eliminated. I'm really banking on the other guys of Herb Jones and Trey Murphy coming back, that
Hmm.
maybe alongside DeJounte Murray and maybe Jordan Poole, they'll be well enough off that they could win some games. They'll definitely be better than last year if those two guys are playing, because Trey Murphy and Herb Jones aren't talked about enough on the Pelicans, and I think they're really good players. I think they could definitely help make a difference with or without Zion, that they can at least make the play-in. If
Hmm.
they're hurt, then yes, they're eliminated, and there's no other question about that. But what do you think about these teams?
Yeah. No, I like where you got everybody. I have no complaints here. Like I said, we shared two teams here. I think the Spurs will be a little better. I
Mm-hmm.
think Wemby's that generational talent to where maybe your timeline goes a little quicker than most rebuilds. Where I would usually agree with you with the talent on the Spurs, like that they'd probably be a play-in team. But I like Wemby to elevate a team a little higher than that. I think he's that good of a player.
Yeah.
With Castle giving you some, with a full season of De'Aaron Fox. But outside of that, I agree with everybody else you got in there.
Okay. Yeah, let's move on to the playoff teams then. All right. So last but not least, we got my picks for the Western Conference, the playoff spots. The real differences I guess I have are the two LA teams and then the position of where the Timberwolves are at. There's nothing to say about the Thunder. I think you said most of it. Unless they get hurt, they should be a number one seed. I think Cam Johnson, like you said, is going to be equally as good as Michael Porter Jr., if not better, because I think he's a little bit more athletic and wants to get to the rim more often than MPJ, so that could help them. Of course, Bruce Brown coming back hopefully could help. Christian Brown can also help, being another guy, and Aaron Gordon being healthy is also going to help them throughout the season. The Rockets and the Timberwolves were kind of, and somewhat of the Lakers were the teams that I played around with in terms of does that make sense. It was really my choice of putting the Rockets at 3 because I had to determine if Van Vliet was going to be good enough throughout the entire season to bring the ball up and facilitate to the other guys that you have on the team, plus the lack of guard depth that they have on the Rockets. I don't know, other than like a Reed Shepherd who played in the G League, I think almost half of the season, plus a Van
Mm-hmm.
Vliet, plus I think the other guard that they have is like Aaron Holiday. I don't know any other guards on that team unless they want to put like a big guy that's going to be facilitating the offense most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
We could see what happens with it. I think that team is still going to be good enough to be in the playoff if it's 3 or 6. But I just put them up because I believe a little bit more in Van Vliet of like I'm being too harsh on him because I'm just going off of like he's 6 foot or 6'1" or whatever. So I don't think he can. But then I'm looking at his numbers. I'm like, man, he's averaging like 6, 7 assists and he can shoot the ball. So maybe that will be well enough for KD because he doesn't have to do it the whole game, and you don't have Jalen Green putting up a bunch of dumb shots. So we'll see what
Mm-hmm.
happens. The Lakers were kind of a team where I'm like, man, I want to put them in the play-in, but I can't doubt LeBron and Luca being in the play-in, even though they could, because they don't have depth on that team either. They really just got their starting 5 plus like Jared Vanderbilt coming off the bench, and that's it. So they got like a
Yeah.
full 6-man rotation. But Luca and LeBron and even Austin Reeves to a degree, with a center now in DeAndre Ayton, regardless of how much he plays, I think they'll be okay and they'll be in a playoff spot. Um, Clippers is kind of the same way. I know we talked about that, so I don't really need to say anything else. I think the biggest thing that I switched was putting you had them at 2, and I put the Timberwolves at 5. They really, to me, they kept the same team, but got rid of Nickeil Alexander-Walker and sent him to the Hawks.
Yeah.
That was like your shooter. And I don't really like Anthony Edwards can obviously shoot the ball, but he's also the one that looks like he's kind of facilitating the offense. So I got to depend on like passing the ball out to who now? DiVincenzo, who is not terrible, like a Mike Conley, I guess, who's getting up there in age, or a Julius Randle or a Naz Reid. Like it's really the same team. They just got rid of their main shooter. So I don't know. They'll still be good because they have the same team and they keep making the Western Conference Finals. But just like getting rid of him, I don't think they're going to be so high. And I think they were even 6 last season. I could see them being 6 again too. If not, maybe even a play-in team because of that.
The Timberwolves, again, they could be one of those teams that gets lost in the shuffle. The Western Conference is so difficult for me because outside the Thunder, if they're healthy, that 2 through 6 right there could all be separated by 4.5 games.
Yeah.
Like, that's why the West is so. You go on a 10-day stretch where your team doesn't play that well, and maybe you go like 2 and 6. All of a sudden, you could drop 4 spots in the Western Conference. So, the Timberwolves could also, like I said, I saw the Rockets maybe being that team that gets lost in the shuffle, trying to integrate KD in for a while. Maybe one of those teams that's 12-12 to start the season, but then they turn it up, so they just end up being a lower seed because of the competition. I could see the Timberwolves being that too. Something just doesn't click early in the year, or you go on a 2-week bad stretch in the West. All of a sudden, you go from being the 2 seed to like, damn, we fighting to stay out the play-in.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of stuff that can happen throughout the season. It's only July 26th, so people can still get picked up, people can still get traded. We can see what happens with Anthony Simons. Maybe he goes to one of those play-in teams and makes them a playoff team now because that's what they needed. Or something tragic happens to OKC and they end up like not even making the playoffs. So it could be a lot of mismatches and see what happens throughout the season. But I think that was majority of everything that we wanted to do. We'll definitely come back later in the year, if not towards the end of the season next year, just to revisit this video specifically, see how on point we were, and be like, we can just rewatch this. We'll do like a whole react video of like, man, why did we think the Pelicans were going to be eliminated and they were a 2 seed next year or this season? So we'll see what happens, but definitely appreciate everybody watching. Make sure you guys stay tuned for the next video and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you. Thank you guys for watching another episode of JK Philly. Make sure you stay tuned by subscribing to the channel.